Romeo and Juliet was at the time, and still is to this day, one of Shakespeare's greatest works. Written between 1591 and 1596, with most scholars placing its premiere around 1594 to 1595, it helped fully solidify William Shakespeare as a master poet and playwright for the ages, helping influence the making of over a dozen films, from the 1968 film starring Leonard Whiting and Olivia Hussey to the 1996 film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, all the way to the most recent work of the 2024 West End stage production starring Tom Holland and Francesca Amawuda Rivers. It clearly had its impact. But what was it about? Romeo and Juliet, set in Verona, Italy in the 14th century, follows the love story of two young lovers from feuding families, the Montagues and the Capulets. Romeo from the Montagues and Juliet from the Capulets. Romeo, saddened from a past breakup, decides that along with his friends will crash the Capulet annual ball unbeknownst to Lord Capulet, who is arranging the marriage of Juliet to the suitable County Paris, in hopes to see his ex. Inside the party, Romeo immediately spots Juliet, and they fall in love instantly, and during a brief conversation and kiss, they discover that they belong to the rival families. Later that night, Romeo sneaks into the Capulet orchard, stands beneath Juliet's balcony, and they confess their love and decide to marry the very next day, but decide for their own sake to keep it a secret.
Shortly after the wedding ceremony, Tybalt, Juliet's cousin, who is still enraged by Romeo's intrusion at the party, challenges him to a duel. Romeo refusing causes a disgusted Mercutio, a close friend of Romeo, to fight Tybalt instead, but in the ensuing chaos is stabbed and killed. Enraged by his friend's death, Romeo, out of an act of revenge, kills Tybalt. This causes him to be banished from all of Verona rather than executed. While Romeo is in exile, Lord and Lady Capulet decide that she must marry the County Paris in a few days to lift the family spirits after Tybalt's death, which she refuses, causing her to be threatened of disownment. Desperate, she concocts a plan with Friar Lawrence. The plan is simple. She will take a sleeping potion that will make her appear dead for 42 hours, then will be placed in the family tomb, where Romeo, who will be alerted by a letter from the friar, will meet her upon awakening, and they will escape together. Simple.
And let me die.
Okay, maybe it wasn't so simple, but what went wrong? Well, Juliet took the potion as planned and was laid to rest in the Capulet tomb. However, the vital letter from Friar Lawrence that was meant to explain the plan to Romeo failed to reach him in Mantua due to unforeseen circumstances. Instead, Romeo heard the news from his servant, who was unaware of the plan, causing Romeo to become overcome with grief and buy a potent poison from a local apothecary determined to die by his wife's side. At the Capulet tomb, Romeo encountered Paris, who is there mourning Juliet. A fight ensues, and as a result, Romeo kills Paris. Romeo then enters the tomb, speaks his final farewells to Juliet, drinks the poison, and dies. Moments later, Friar Lawrence arrives at the tomb. Juliet wakes up to find only her dead husband beside her, and although the friar tried to convince her to leave, Juliet, overcome with grief, kisses Romeo one last time. Well, he stabs and kills herself with Romeo's dagger. After, the prince, the Capulets, and the Montagues all arrive at the gruesome scene, and the friar explains the entire tragic sequence of events, and witnessing the fatal consequence of their ancient hatred, the two families finally end their bitter feud after being moved from the actions of their children, finally ending the conflict and bringing peace to Verona. Now that we know the impact and what it was about, what inspired it, and what made it so different from every other love story at the time?